I started doubling down on my strengths, which was obviously fitness and social media, and that's when you see progress.
The answer to Tomas there he probably wants.
Showing people what I was eating and the way I was training.
You could see the fans behind the goal going absolutely crazy.
What did Gary Vee say? Hustle until people are mocking you asking for a job.
Welcome back to Season 2 of the Frankly Nuts podcast.
With your hosts Joe Loftus and Kevin McCarthy.
Our podcast looks to delve deeper into the minds of those who have a story to tell.
We hope to bring you long-form, open and honest conversation.
We've always said that each guest brings something different to the table.
We strive to bring you content that may give you that little nugget of information you never heard before. Maybe it gives you that push to start that project you've been putting off for a while, or maybe it just gives you a laugh.
Before we start the pod, if you're listening on audio, we just want to ask if you could subscribe or leave a review.
If you're watching on YouTube, we'd ask that you hit the subscribe button or maybe hit the bell. You'll get a notification when our next podcast is up. That would be sweet.
We took a break. We did season 1. How many podcasts did we do? I think we did 29.
29, yeah, was
29 podcasts.
29 episodes, yeah.
Probably around 20 with guests and maybe 9 ourselves. So we took a break. Do you want to explain to people why we took a break at the time?
Yeah, so initially we took the break. It would have been to focus on our final year exams. That's what we would have said anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we were final year students, fourth year business. So the exams do come kind of thick and fast. So we just said, look, we need to take a break, need to focus on these exams.
Yeah.
And the plan was then to literally do the exams and get back into it, like end of May, early June, like we were meant to come back with a bang, like, yeah. But I suppose, like, the truth behind it, like, the exams was a factor, but I suppose we did become completely burnt out.
By social media, like,
Yeah. Like, I know now, like, to maybe the 4 loyal listeners that probably do listen, like both of our parents.
My parents don't listen at all, like. I'm glad to hear yours do.
I don't know how much of them they do listen to. But like, you probably don't see what happens off camera, like to get the pod from here to being processed. Like it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
We'd record usually, it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, wasn't it?
Yep.
Tuesday or Wednesday evening. So we'd come out of that, we'd be burnt from recording.
Yeah.
It would be one of us, we'd usually do alternating weeks.
Yeah, just every second week normally, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was just a case of going home, watching it, editing it, getting the sound right, getting the video right, getting the preset, all that sorted.
Yeah.
It would take up your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It would take 2 or 3 evenings a week.
Yeah.
And it probably put a bit of a strain on our social lives and relationships and stuff like that, like with people. It did put a strain on it all, like, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, like, because you were so focused on the podcast, and when it came around into Saturday and you had the podcast done, that's all you were thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, pod's going up tomorrow night.
Yeah.
What can I do? Clips ready.
Yeah.
Where am I going to be tomorrow? Like, I think the mistake we made was setting it out that it was every Sunday night.
Yeah. I think it made our schedule very intense, like, and we were kind of owned by the schedule, like, owned by it, like. So one thing we just like to cover now before we move on as well is the Bod Challenge, like. So we started, it was the start last year, the new year, January last year. We decided to do a
fitness challenge, I suppose.
Challenge, yeah. We called it the Bod Challenge. It was Kevin versus Joe. Basically week on week. Well, we posted weekly, I suppose.
Yeah. We would have probably posted the workout daily when we were there or whatever, yeah.
So when we took our break, we actually took a complete break from everything, not just making podcasts, but our social media pages as well. And that was about 8 or 9 weeks into the Bod Challenge.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually update social media on the end of that, but we did finish it out. And Kev won.
The trophy around
Kev
the place
won,
there.
There's enough trophies here. Kev won by landslide. So he profited €50 for himself.
€50,
so
happy days.
I was happy to hand it over.
Yeah.
It was.
It actually paid for our weekend away after college, so it was handy.
Cheap weekend, €50.
Covered my accommodation.
But what did you think of the Bod Challenge overall?
Yeah, it was good. Like, I thought the premise behind the idea was good, like, for us, just to kind of, we weren't, we were 2 lads who were just trying to get in a bit of shape, like, just kind of up our fitness. But I suppose for anyone out there who may have been watching and thought, like, geez, if these 2 lads can just go out and, like, do this or whatever, like, maybe I can. And that's the only way I wanted to do it. Like, I didn't want to do it because of social media and get like, oh, look at these lads here, we'll follow them like them or whatever. But I did think it was worth doing.
Yeah.
But halfway through it, right, I did kind of just get kind of sick of the early mornings. And
Do you know what? That was one big thing is that, well, yeah, we were doing it at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 mornings a week. That was tough, but I was never so productive either when I was getting up at 6 in the morning.
In college, like,
and you do your session, and then, like, you know, the endorphins are flowing, you're ready to attack the day. That's one thing I will say, but you would be wrecked, alright? But it was nice to get into that habit and routine. It's something I would like to get back to. But the one thing, on that is, we were saying 6 weeks in, like 12 weeks is actually a long time. Do you know, when you commit to it at the start, you're like, 12 weeks, like, sure, it's only
3 months.
3 months, like, you know, it's January now, by April it'll be all over. But 12 weeks is so long, and you can actually make so much change in 12 weeks as well, like, you know.
I can't even remember the results of it now. Like,
no, either do I. Like, I know you won well, but, like, but we both that's the main thing. I lost.
We did drop
€50 more importantly.
Like, exactly. You dropped more money, I suppose. But like, that was the main thing. Like, it
the
did
big
show
thing, I made any improvements I made were in the first 2 weeks, and then I basically maintained for about 10 weeks because, and I've done it now twice. But you know, when you count calories, so I was counting calories in MyFitnessPal, and I was counting calories for the first 2 weeks, and then I got kind of complacent maybe after that, and was just like kind of eyeballing stuff and like, alright, it's around that, and like I kind of just maintained the plateau then for the rest of it. Like counting calories is restricting, alright, but it's an efficient way of losing weight or toning up or whatever your goal is, like, you know.
I think the main thing I would have like taken from the challenge was that you can still enjoy life. Like, you can go out and you can have, if you're craving that pizza, have that pizza. Like, don't restrict yourself. Like, just get into a good routine of, you know, exercise really. Like, just go out, enjoy your life. Yeah. But, like, you know, go, like, take care of yourself, but more importantly, just...
Yeah, it does help, though, exercise, doesn't it, even for the head and everything.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, since I know you're still going to the gym all the time, and
got me into a good routine
in between
and
injuries.
Such,
Kev's currently struggling with a back injury at the moment, but I've actually veered away from the gym since and just started going running instead.
More Farah,
kind of running, and again, for the head, like, just unbelievable, like, you know, just
really
like,
does help, like,
it does, it just, it's like, you know, you could be muddling out at the end of the day and your head could be all over the place, and if you just go for a run, whatever it is, go for your workout, like, and like, thoughts, everything just becomes clear, like, you know, I'd always do it now if I had to make a big decision, or if I was doing something maybe stressful, maybe the next day or later that day, try and, you know, do that a little bit. We're basically just endorphins, like, isn't it?
Yeah, even a walk would do that, like, just fresh air, like, it's
fresh
just
air,
pure
like,
fresh air hitting your face, like.
So that covers the dad bod, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Moving on from that, so we finished college.
Yeah.
And then we hit the summertime.
Yeah. I suppose when we finished college, like, what we did was our exams finished. What was it, like the end of May?
Yeah.
We went away literally that weekend, like,
we did.
Group of friends, like, we went into Ventry for the Champions League final. There's 8 of us, yeah.
Down to Paddy Shane's.
Yeah, you know, for a bit of a weekend just to kind of celebrate finishing.
I was class.
It was an unbelievable weekend. Unfortunately, Liverpool didn't win the Champions League, which broke my heart on the Saturday night. But sure, look,
that was entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Watching it, there was 2 Liverpool fans down there, myself and Pete, previous guest.
And Pete, and then the rest of us were.
Keating.
Jesus Christ. The rest of us were neutrals then.
Yeah. So it was good for you to watch us kind of, you know,
suffer.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose then what happened is I went away. I went to Malta for 10 days at the start of June.
Oh yeah. I was wondering there when you said you went away. I was like, where did you go?
Prison.
Yeah.
But then that kind of delayed it then even further. And like, what were your thoughts on it then? Like, kind of coming back from holidays, then we were saying.
I was sure my head was gone at this stage. So I, towards the end of college, hadn't actually applied for any jobs or anything. I had no real. I wouldn't say ambition, like, but I'd no plan set in place for myself. I was just kind of focused on finishing college and kind of seeing what was out there. Maybe after that, I wasn't rushing into it. I wasn't in a situation where I was going to be like, do you know, I need a job. Okay, I finished college on Thursday, I need a job Monday. Like, I wasn't like that. I wanted to be sure that whatever I was going to go into, that I would enjoy. And it's hard to know without going into it first if you would enjoy it or not. But I was, you know, trying to hedge my bets as best I could.
Absolutely.
So yeah, June, like, I was nearly the whole of June looking and stuff, and my head was all like, I was at one stage I was going to America on a graduate visa.
The plan was set in place.
I was heading over to Rhode Island going to live with my uncle and his wife, and
I would have been looking for a new host.
Yeah, I basically, well, that's a funny story actually. So this is my plan, and maybe selfishly or not selfishly, you can decide. But I said to Kev, off I go. Like, you know, I was like, oh, sure, we've done 1 or 2 Skype podcasts. We could do Skype podcasts over and back, and maybe it would be cool that you'd have kind of the guy who's here at home and the guy who's abroad, like, you know, and kind of contrasting how they're getting on and all this, like. And Kev at the time was like, oh yeah. And so as the story goes, I had a U-turn then anyway. I got cold feet late. But that coincided with getting a job offer here and stuff. But anyway, cold feet late, and I contacted Kevin and said, look, I'm actually staying now, like, you know, and want to work on the podcast and get that back up and going again.
Which I was delighted with, no, by the way.
And I was like, it would be better now, wouldn't it, than having to Skype across. And he was like, oh yeah, he was like, I'd actually asked one of my will I say his name? I'd asked Colin there if he'd be co-host there when you were gone, like, you know. And I was just like, jeez,
it killed him.
Like, it killed me. I was just like, nothing against Colin, no, like, Colin, I know you might be watching now, but it was just like, jeez, my bed wasn't even cold, like, and he was after making it, like, you know.
Like, to clarify, like,
I would like some clarification as well. I've never got it.
My thought process behind this was, like, you might have seen, like, I don't know how many, like, people watch our podcast or whatever, but
too many. Cork's #1 podcast.
That's what we'd like to reiterate. #1, the originals. But like, of the Skype ones we did, who did we do it with? Brian Keane, Sean Atwood. Was that it?
Yeah.
Was it just 2?
Yeah.
The 2. They were very hard to do. Like.
It's hard to get the personal, like, yo man,
yeah,
like,
you know,
like there you are there now, you're right here in front of me, we can grasp hands.
It's
like
personal.
That. Yeah, it's personal.
In conversation.
Yeah.
Intimate.
It is. There's a lot missing.
Yeah. And the whole thing was like the audio as well. You don't know the person. Like, I know you would have brought Mike and it would have been perfect.
Yeah, would have been dodgy on your end.
So like, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, if he goes to Boston, there's a time difference first of all.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, yeah.
It's only 5 hours, like.
Yeah, do you know? There's a massive time difference. And I was like, okay, look, we can do one with Joe every now and then.
Oh, Jesus.
But like, I don't
want to have the Frankie Nuts podcast, and I was ousted, like.
One every 4 weeks or something. No, I'm not joking. But like, you know, do one with Joe or whatever. But I was like, there's still people I'd want to interview.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, and I like, it would be selfish of me not to think that too.
Yeah, but and I was like, how comfortable would I be bringing someone in, just me and them sitting down? Because the whole thing behind this was it's 2 of us. Like, there's 2 people. And we're kind of talking, and I was like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't just
one-on-one.
No, I couldn't do one-on-one with someone. I just feel like
I think you could though.
I don't know.
Look at this now, like.
Yeah, but like, do you know how long have I known you? And like, I'm just bringing someone in off the street.
Yeah.
You know, writing them on Instagram. What's the crack? Do you want to come in for a pod? I thought that would have been a bit. I wouldn't have been able to do it. Now there's some people out there, that are doing podcasts by themselves, and fair play to them.
Most people
like,
are, sure, yeah.
Do you know? So I was like, I need like a kind of a co-host, and I was like, I'm not going to replace Joe, and like Colin's not going to come in as the co-host, but he's going to be like, I don't know how many people watch The Fighter and The Kid.
And they've guest hosts.
Yeah, do you know, like a guest co-host. Like, so like if Brian Callan can't make a show, Shab might sometimes bring in someone.
Delia
or or Theo Vaughan, you know, someone might come in and just sit with him, and that's his kind of guest co-host.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I do a pod
that
with
would have been
Joe,
good actually, and he would have been good at it too, like.
I was like, I'll still do pods with Joe. He's still the co-host, but while he's off living his life in Rhode Island, I need an anchorman as such. Like, so that was the thought process behind that not being. I suppose you can decide.
I just remember when you told me, you were like, I'd actually asked. I was just like, Jesus, excuse me, like, I'll get out of your way here, like, I'll let you work away.
And that had been mulling on my mind for ages. Like, I was like, what's this gonna do? Like, I was like, I still wanted. We'd learned so much from.
But like, you didn't tell me, like, do you know.
I hadn't told you.
I told you, you were like, that's grand. You're like, I was like, look, I know the podcast, look, but I was like. And you were like, like, you know, life comes first, like, you know,
absolutely.
Like, and and you made it sound like, there was no bother, like, you know, it doesn't matter, like, and then here you are telling me it was mulling on your mind, like, this is hilarious, like.
But I think that's the one thing we learned from season 1 was that life has to come first. Like, we can't prioritise the podcast or anything. And that was the thing that when you said you were going to throw it, I was like, you go, like, obviously you want to go and start your like life in Boston or whatever, live with your uncle and Rhode Island, and like, you know, get going there. And I was like, jeez, like, you can't let this podcast stop you from doing that. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, could this be the end? Like, I remember just lying in bed one night and I was like, geez, could be over, feck it. It was a good run while it lasted anyway. And then I was like, do you know what? If anything, I'd like to continue it as a hobby. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we're going to do going forward. Like, see where it goes. But like, I suppose to tell everyone, like, this isn't going to be a weekly occurrence. Like,
Yeah.
I suppose we should kind of tell people that.
Yeah, so I suppose before we would have said every Sunday evening, 7 o'clock, and we would have stuck to that 90% of the time, I think. But yeah, so as we've already said, it was an intense schedule, and we found it hard and we struggled. So what we're looking to do now is
just kind of do it
when they pop up, but it still will be, I would be aiming 10 days to 2 weeks kind of thing, you know, rough estimate. Like one of my New Year's resolutions actually was to record 25 podcasts this year. Yeah. So that would be every 2 weeks. I know we're 6 weeks into the year, so maybe you know, on average, like it might be every 10 days to 2 weeks. So and hopefully we'll bring quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so we can let you decide anyway, what was it selfish or not.
Yeah, so it was interesting time.
I suppose we bit the bullet then, kind of early January. We said we have to get back, like New Year.
Start putting a plan in place.
Yeah. We kind of, I don't know, people like, you know, new kind of setup here.
Yeah. We'll talk through it. Like. Yeah. So I suppose new plan in place. So season 2 of the podcast. Here we are, we're about 20 minutes into the podcast, and we're finally addressing it. Yeah. Season 2, new location, new mindset, new setup.
Yeah.
We're currently here in Gary McCarthy Trophies, no relation to Kevin. So thanks to Gary for hosting us. I suppose anyone you would have seen with a mug or a
piece of glass
in season 1, any guests that we would have given them to, they all came from Gary for a stay here in Gary McCarthy Trophies. So I suppose cheers to Gary for the support all along, and
thanks,
cheers
Dad.
now for the extra support and hosting us here. And we decided to go with this kind of a setup where it's kind of how would you say, more intimate, intimate setup.
Kind
so
we're
actually sitting here in the dark right now with one spotlight on. For anybody who's listening on audio, and we've decided to wear headphones this season. Just because it really makes you focus on. So the big thing for me is I was just like, I'd really like just sit at the table and just be whatever 2-3 feet away from each other and just really engage in conversation and not think of anything else outside of that. Like. And I think that's the way I'd like to bring it forward with the guests as well.
Absolutely.
So that's it really.
That's kind of season 2 in a nutshell. Like
season 2. What are you hoping to cover in season 2?
Geez, good question. Off the cuff.
So like, is there guests from specific worlds you want to cover? Is there topics you want to talk about? What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else there now.
I suppose like the main thing I'd like to do is just kind of just talk to people that, like, I don't want to kind of say that I wasn't interested in anyone in season 1, because that's not that's not what I'm trying to get at. But like just people that kind of come in, I'm interested in knowing about. I just don't want to pick someone up on Instagram just because they have 10k followers or they have this amount of followers and they might give us a bit of publicity in a way. Like, you know, like. I don't think that's the way to go. Like, because like last year we would have had Rob Lipsit on, and like his following, we were kind of buzzing. Like, do you know, we were like, look at this like big platform, we're gonna get, you know, publicity out of this, and it was just the same as having anyone else on. Like, and that's the main thing I kind of found out was that I don't think people listening or watching care about the following; they just care about the person.
Story,
so the story is what I want to get from it.
Like, I suppose if you look at it, one of the ones that we would have done and been told about the most was the Sean Atwood podcast, which we actually did over Skype. And that was an interview we did on Skype. Like, his camera wasn't great, his audio wasn't great, whatever. But his story was the most insane I think we've ever had in the pod. I think we can comfortably say that.
It was gripping.
His story, and that just goes to show that story trumps all, really. Like, you know, you can have unbelievable content, unbelievable production quality, all that. Like, you might have the following, but most people who would have listened to that podcast would never have heard of him. Maybe a minute few, but story trumps all, I think.
And I think topics as well, like, that are kind of like not frowned upon, but like, you know, mental health probably isn't talked about a lot, all this kind of stuff. And I'd like to kind of tackle that and just kind of.
I have a few listed out. I might list them off.
Go on. So
absolutely, as you said there, mental health. So that was the first one I'd written down.
Big in Cork as well, like. Do you know, like it's just not talked about everywhere, like
across the world, I suppose. We would have breezed over it maybe once or twice before with guests that maybe would have had mental health struggles.
In the past,
but I would like to have someone on, really,
who can
go really in depth on mental health and maybe issues they've had, tools they've used to, you know, how they overcome it, or sorry, not overcome it, but to be able to manage it.
Exactly.
We said, like, any guests we have on, we want to have on someone that we're both really passionate about, that we have them on, that we're both buzzing to do it. Not that maybe one fella's buzzing and the other fella's so or whatever. So I think we're really going to focus on quality. So what else do I have here now, right? So
excuse me.
Another one I'd love to have is an endurance athlete, and not even for the athletic feat side of it or the sports side of it. I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know David Goggins? You
shocked.
I'm shocked, yeah, because he's universal, like he's global. No. So I'd love to have an endurance athlete, but nearly more to talk about their mindset than the athletic feat. No, the athletic feat will get talked about as well. But so like David Goggins, for example, like his story is crazy. No, he's been on Rogan twice. Like you know, I'm not saying we're gonna get David Goggins on, like, but someone who's taken on a similar feat. And I know like Brian Keane did the Sahara. I forget what they were called. Marathon de Sable, and like, do you remember when he said that's a crazy athletic feat? I'd like to get someone on similar to that. So like David Goggins, for example, he's had a crazy life, and like I'm not even going to do his story justice, but there's so many aspects to his life. But one thing he did was he didn't even do a marathon first. He did a ultra marathon, which is a 100-mile race. So that was before he ever did a marathon. He did a ultra marathon. So he ended up then going on and doing 8 ultra marathons in 8 weekends. So every weekend he did a 100-mile race. So just something like that, and where it's like insane things that like 99.9% of the general public would be like, geez, I could never do that.
Yeah.
Where I'd love to get someone on and go, how did you do it? How did you... Mind
over matter kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like.
Exactly. Like some other examples, another person who was on Rogan, this guy Colin O'Brady's his name, right? He crossed the Antarctic just before Christmas there, actually. And it is something like 970 miles, I'm going to say. And it is like minus 40 degrees Celsius, 60 mile an hour winds, nobody there, literally, like just like your open space. He crossed it in 54 days, right, which is like, is that like 17 miles a day or something? And he did it pulling a 375 pound sled, so there was nobody with him, like for the whole, he was just dropped off.
Yeah.
And whether he made it or not, like, and he had one tent, he didn't even have a spare tent, right? And 60 mile an hour winds now in minus 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
He said, like, if that tent blew away in any time at all, like, he was done. Like, nobody'd help him, nothing. Like, so, like, it's an insane podcast. I'd recommend anybody to watch it. Colin O'Brady on Joe Rogan. So that's just another, just stuff like that. Another girl Rogan had on was Courtney Dauwalter.
Rogan fanboy.
Courtney Dauwalter. And just from kind of starting running or doing a bit of running that I've gotten interested in this, she is a school teacher and did a 240-mile race called the Moab, I think, right?
Yeah.
So she won it. You do it over like 2 or 3 days, but like you're running for like the whole thing now, and there's trails involved and all. Do you know Cameron Haynes?
Yeah.
So he came 12th in that race. This lady won it.
Jesus.
And she won it by a clear day. She beat the next person by a day, like 26 hours before him. Like she was saying, no, she was running, and at stages, like she was like hallucinating, like she kind of almost went blind for a second. That like you're just going so much,
your body's
like,
just overloaded.
She'd
like.
stop now for 1 minute sleep. She'd have maybe a guy with her, and then he'd 60 seconds go to sleep, and she'd say it would feel like a 12-hour sleep, like even closing your eyes for a minute, like, and on to the next, like. So just if we could get anybody who's done
in that
a
field,
feat like that or something like that, I'd love just even the mindset, because it's just mind blowing, like,
just kind of like an in-depth conversation with them.
And these people are like, many of them, you know, they're not elite athletes, or it's just grind and just staying the course and just, you know, that grit, like. So I'd really love to get that. That was a bit of a long-winded way of saying that. Another person I'd like to go on is just a world traveller.
Someone that's seen the world.
Yeah. Maybe they've travelled for a year, and someone who's been to a lot of places. I just like to ask them about maybe the different places and
the different kind of lifestyles and
culture and all that. Like,
absolutely, sounds good.
Then what else? Oh, someone else who has a podcast, because I find personally that there's
a lot of them in Cork now.
Yeah. Since we started, like when we started, was there any pods in Cork? I don't think there was there?
No, because like we probably would have told people.
Podcast. yeah.
We would have been in that Student Inc. program that we would have told people about, like in CIT. And remember, we had to write like a business plan, and in the business plan was like competitors. And we spent ages trying to research, like, was there anyone? And there wasn't.
Yeah.
Fast forward 12 months now, and we have about 15 of them.
Yeah, there's a good few.
But we started
good
that
to
trend.
see as well. Good to see.
Yeah, exactly. We're not begrudging anyone. Like,
yeah.
But I like it. Have
someone who has a podcast, maybe a successful one.
Probably would have seen two of our previous guests that would have been on together, Dan, Sweeney, and Jay. They both have a podcast now.
Fair play, boys.
Yeah. So, like, it's previous guests, I suppose, have gone on and made a podcast. Who else in Cork is? Can't even think. Go on anyway.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of think when you're on the spot.
So just someone who's had one on, and I love, like, because I like chatting to them now. Like, 5 dream guests they would have. Maybe who was the favourite guest they did have. Different things. It's very relatable, like.
Who they didn't like.
And whether that would be interesting to people watching or not, I don't know. But sure, look. Shit.
Apologies there.
Sugar. This might be more personal, but I'd love to have someone on who's into photography and videography. Whether you would enjoy it or not, like this might be one of the ones where I'm saying, like,
I'm doing
both of us. We're having this on.
No, I'd love it.
I'd love someone like that.
Yeah.
What else do I have down here now? Conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'd love it.
All the different types, like Eddie Bravo kind of stuff.
Yeah. Flat Earth now.
Yeah, and
who shot JFK and all that. But yeah, I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but I'd like to hear, like, I'd love to get someone, find out maybe what conspiracy theories they believe or they're into. Then we go away looking depthly on them, so we're educated on them. Then we can have an educated conversation on it.
Yeah.
That's what I'd love.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else do we have?
Jeez, he's done a lot of research.
I just wrote him down there now last night. I'd like to have a jockey on, just like a
horse jockey.
Yeah. a horse jockey. I would.
It's random.
Just as interesting again. I'd like them. It's like, this should nearly be a mindset podcast. Like, I'm just fascinated by their minds.
Because
like, they have to keep such a low weight, and then, like, they're racing at, like, they might be going at 30 miles an hour, like over crazy jumps and stuff. Like, I just like to get an insight into that world, really.
Yeah.
Like,
sounds good to me.
And what else do we have? I'd love to get a journeyman footballer on. No, like, that might be offensive to most footballers, like, but I'd love to get someone who's been at maybe
several clubs,
15 clubs, like. Ex-professional maybe, and like I just feel like those guys or ladies would have a story and a half to tell.
Absolutely,
like, I don't know, do you follow? Sure you do, yeah. Sorry, you put me onto the Jimmy Bullard podcast, the Magic Sponge, and the Peter Crouch podcast. You put me onto both of them, and just some of the stories, like,
it's brilliant.
Are just brilliant, like, aren't they?
Yeah. If anyone hasn't listened to him, listen to Peter Crouch's or Jimmy Bullard. I'd put Peter Crouch's above Jimmy Bullard.
Go away. One of my buddies, Dan, was saying he loved the Bullard one. Binge listen now. Like, you passed it on to me. Passed the pod. You passed it on to me. I passed it on to him. And that's another thing. If you feel like passing our podcast to anybody,
anyone,
feel free. Please.
Just send them the link and let the magic happen.
So, and then what was I going to say?
So you were talking about a journeyman. I passed it on to you. You passed it on to Dan.
And I thought it was great. Yeah. And you loved the Peter Crouch one. He was the other way around. He didn't really like the Peter Crouch one.
I suppose, Not everyone's cup of tea, I suppose.
No. What else do I have? I think I've only one or two more here now. Oh, fighter. I think we'd both be interested in, like, an MMA fighter specifically, but even boxer as well.
Yeah, because their mindset would be on
mindset.
Going back to mindset.
But even,
just their journey.
We're both interested in UFC as well anyway, so I think it would be a nice common ground for everybody. I've another one, personal finance, like, so.
Jeez, that's a big one now, like, we're both in the working world.
I don't know what the name of the show is, but I was watching a show on RT. Did you see
it?
Over
RT, I haven't seen it, but they're talking about it in work.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Everyone's just on about it.
The mother now was sitting down for the evening watching it there one evening, and I kind of fell in it as well. Just found it intriguing, like almost scary actually. Better off, it's
kind of about how
scary,
to
like,
prioritize your money, like, isn't it? Not waste it in a sense, like.
Yeah. So I'd love, like, if you'd someone like him now, or I don't even know who you'd approach, or if anybody knows someone who's maybe a financial advisor. Or,
someone to come on and just say, like, give us advice.
Maybe talk people through
some interesting facts.
Just it's more kind of life hacks, like, isn't it? And then the last one, I think I had one more. Personal finance. No, I didn't. I covered it all there. Yeah.
He got it all out.
Yeah. So is there any that you would have maybe separate to that now yourself, or
Jesus, on the spot.
Oh no, I probably should have told you about this.
I suppose I didn't tell him either about asking Colin. Even.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that all sounds good.
Yeah.
I suppose if anyone has any other suggestions, like we
hit
love
us.
people just hitting us up, like and just saying.
No, we're not guaranteeing that we'll go
get that
for
person.
it.
Yeah. But just suggestions, like like if you think someone has an interesting story or a topic,
you know someone,
just send it on to us. You don't even have to like write to us on Instagram or whatever. Just Facebook, whatever. Even if it's one of our friends listening, you could just drop us a message or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah.
What else was I going to say to you? I have down here dream guests. Is there any? Who would be your dream guests?
Like, are we
maybe
realistic or?
Ooh, good question.
Do you know, like, obviously there's dream guests.
No, worldwide.
How
many will I say? Three. Three.
Jeez. Obviously, being a massive Liverpool fan, I'd actually love to have Jordan Henderson or someone like that.
Right. Why Hendo? Captain?
Not just because he's captain. I'd love to just sit him down. I know he probably couldn't talk about it now, like, but
have a chat with him.
Yeah. Like maybe in a couple of years or something, like, you know, when and just talk about his Liverpool journey, like, because he came into the club and basically, like, just to speed it up, Rodgers wanted to sell him, like, he was going to Fulham so we could get Clint Dempsey of all players, like.
Good player though. Met him once. Funny story for you. So on our first J1, we went to this is a good one now, actually. I'll probably have to hype it up now. But our first J1, we went to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And on the way over, we stopped in Washington we did like a night, maybe 2 nights there. So there was 13 of us.
Yeah.
And we were in Washington, walking around anyway, seeing the sights. Just going to the White House, actually.
And
USA were playing Germany in a friendly that day. In Washington, and we're crossing the street there, and my buddy Kev O'Ryan shouts, "There's Clint Dempsey there," and I was like, "It is not," and he goes, "That's Clint Dempsey there," and he goes, "That's him, alright." And I had another look. I was like, "Fuck, it is. It's Clint."
That's Clint.
And nobody, like, he was just getting out of the car now. He was saying goodbye to his family, I think, outside the hotel. So we ran over. We're like, "Clint, can we get a picture? Can we get a picture?" And he was really moody, actually. He was like, and he just scored 2 goals against Germany. He was like, yeah, sure. And so I had my phone there, and I turned to Healy, like there was 13 of us there now, right? And the 2 of us were trying to get the pic, like. So I turned to Healy. I go, "Healy, will you take a picture of us there with Clint, like?"
Yeah.
And Healy goes, "No."
Just didn't want to.
No, he wouldn't. I was like, "What?" And then
this is shocking behaviour.
And then everybody hopped in. So all 13 of us hopped in, right? And it's so funny now, the pictures online. If I'm editing this, I might throw it up on the screen for someone who's watching, right? So there's 13 of us in the picture, right? And everybody wanted to get into the picture so badly that Clint is like in the back, right?
Just
so
like a group
we
of
all,
boys,
everybody's out front. Clint's in the very back, like popping his head up, like nobody even cared for Clint, like.
Jesus.
But yeah, I'll never forget the Healy saying no on the spot. Like I was like, "What? Please
take it."
Yeah.
Jesus. And then he got into the photo, like.
Huh?
Healy.
Everybody, all 13, yeah. So I'll pop it up in the edit there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Just when you said his name there. So yeah, sorry, I cut you
No,
off.
not at all. So I'd like to kind of talk to him about that, because he was literally being forced out of the club, came back. Yeah. Like, and then he became captain. Like, how does that like, you know, you're being forced out of the club and then you become captain within 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So I think he'd have an interesting story. Obviously the obvious ones would be Gerrard, Carragher and all that. But I just think sitting down with him, like, would be unbelievable, like, just to hear like how he did that. And I think during it as well, his dad got sick and everything, and it was just a whole thing, like.
It's good.
So I'd love to have him on. Jeez, who else now? Dream guest. Conor McGregor, I suppose. Sit down with him. He's in the headlines so much these days. It's frightening. Like,
he would have been on my list before.
Not anymore. No, look, I suppose I'll judge no one until it's proven guilty. Like, these WhatsApp messages going around. Do you know?
Go on. We won't get into
exactly. Like, I could start a WhatsApp message here.
Yeah, but his fighting story is crazy and fair play to him,
Can't wait for him to be back now. Looking forward to that. And I suppose the final one then. I've had 2 sports. Like, Jesus. From a business sense,
bad, like,
I know, but you kind of want to split it out. Jesus Christ, I'm pausing here now.
Al Porter.
Jesus Christ. And he's back in the limelight now, isn't he? He's back presenting and stuff. Is he?
Oh, is he?
No, I think so. Yeah.
You're the fellows, yeah.
Jesus, like watched him one night in telly, thought he was hilarious, said it on a podcast, and then what came out then?
Kev would have said that originally in like episode 3 or 4 of our very first season, saying that
was a dream dinner guest, wasn't it?
Dream dinner guest, yeah.
Yeah.
Like to,
take him out of it now. I suppose the final one I'd have would be
deafening silence.
Yeah. Look, you go. It'll come back to me.
I actually, Joe Rogan, innit?
Yeah.
The Podfather. Like he's an absolute like hero of mine. Joe Rogan. I actually have done on my list. I'd love to get Katie Taylor. I'd known to see a documentary on her recently.
No, I haven't seen it. It was on RT, wasn't it?
Yeah,
didn't get around to watching
phenomenal. Really interesting. Just that, like, her whole life. Again, it's almost mindset, but her whole life is devoted to that sport.
She loves it.
And like, she lives now over in Connecticut, in a random place in Connecticut. She like that's where her head trainer is, like, and trains there and stuff. But yeah, just lives in a house on her own, single lady, and just one goal. Like, you know, it seems like that is the focus. Like, world champ, and she's world champ, but like, you know, to be while her career is there, like, and I just love to know, like, you know, what's next and all that, like, but yeah, sure, she changed the face of women's boxing really and stuff. So Joe Rogan, Katie Taylor, and
I actually have my third.
Go on.
Cillian Murphy. I'd love to have him on.
See, he's becoming a radio host on BBC now.
BBC, yeah. Weirdly enough, I only just started watching Peaky Blinders in the last couple of days. Never watched it.
Yeah.
Knew he was from Cork. Knew he was from Cork. He was a Cork man. Never knew he actually originally came from Douglas. So he's from Douglas.
Is he?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I looked him up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Just because I was interested.
Wikipedia is always gospel. Yeah.
And it just said he was born Douglas, went to prison and stuff, and I was like, Jesus, like, this fella's almost a superstar, like.
Yeah.
And then I just started watching Peaky Blinders. Like, he was obviously in The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
Yeah.
Unbelievable in that. And just the way he can act in Peaky Blinders, like the Birmingham accent. And
phenomenal.
I was just like, this fella, like, he's from Cork. Like, do you know, we don't have
Gives
any
you a bit of hope,
superstars. Like, yeah.
You wouldn't know, like, there's a few, like Graham Norton, John and Rhys Myers.
Yeah. Few, right? John and Rhys Myers and Graham Norton, superstars.
Graham Norton is.
Yeah. But he's not an actor, like. Well, he was in Father Ted, like, but I suppose we could have all been in Father Ted. It's like Fair City. But yeah, I'd love to have him on, sit him down and kind of talk about his journey, like. Yeah. Sorry, now I interrupted you. Go on.
No. That was good because I was actually completely out.
Yeah, you're fine. One, I suppose.
Katie Taylor. Like I mentioned already, but I'd love to have on David Goggins, like.
Yeah.
He actually, another record he had was like the pull-up record. I think he did 4,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
Jesus. Consecutively? No.
Yeah. Like, well, like, might have hopped off taking 10 but in 24 hours he did 4,000. Some fellas after smashing it since, he's after doing like 5,500 or 5,400, I think. But again, Dave got like, I got his audio book there, Can't Hurt Me, I think it's called, on Audible. His story is frightening. Talk about a story, like, absolutely insane. So
I think there's so many we'd like to have
David
on.
Goggins, yeah.
Like, you know, people we look up to as well, like.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't even have to be celebrity, like. Obviously, listening to Peter Crouch's podcast and stuff like that, you'd love to have people like that on.
Yeah.
Recently signed for Burnley of all teams. Like.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So yeah, it's just cool. Like, I suppose we could have a few Cork people on as well. You know, but sure, look, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any other things you want to cover? I've one or two more, right?
Go on, so yeah.
Oh yeah? You're out, so yeah.
I just thought this was going to be bouncing off each other. And
we are. I just wrote down a couple of things just from my own head because I knew if I didn't have a bit of a pat with it, I'd just
lose the plot. Like.
Yeah. So, is there any people you're following at the moment or content that you're watching that you think is worthwhile for people to follow or you find very engaging, like that you enjoy, like?
See, like, since actually starting the podcast, I've been turned off, like,
social media. I know you have big time, like, even since finishing it, like, I don't you just throw your phone away now. It seems like but like, okay, it's like a therapy session for social media recovery.
But like, recently I've started following Lewis Capaldi. Do you know Lewis Capaldi?
Follow him Monday, I'd say. Yeah, well, I know he's had a hit now during the week, so it makes sense.
Like in work, like the radio's constantly on. The last 2 or 3 weeks, that song's been on the radio, and I was like, "Geez, who's this?" Like, went on, and it's pure love song, like, do you know, pure sad song that you put your headphones on and close the eyes, like. Then go on his Instagram, he's a complete nutter. Like,
Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he?
yeah.
His stories there, he doesn't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
even yesterday now, so Ariana Grande beat him to #1 or whatever. I think he was #3 in the charts. And like, he just put up a load of stories of him photoshopped into pictures of Ariana Grande. Like, it's brilliant.
crazy.
Like. He's only 22 as well. From Scotland.
Very young.
He's a funny looking fish as well.
Yeah,
isn't he?
he's not like.
No offense, Lewis, if you're watching.
If he's watching, yeah. But like, he's not your typical, like, if you listen to that song, you will not envisage.
Even if you
Lewis
hear him
Capaldi,
talk,
yeah.
I was literally listening to him on the way here, and I was like,
How is this like a little? Yeah,
yeah, it's not
crazy.
the same fellow who's talking. Like,
so I'd recommend people just follow him on
follow
Instagram.
him, yeah.
Like, there's not much else I follow. Like, I follow. It's literally called Nature. It's a page.
Cool.
And they put up some
pictures?
really cool shots. Yeah, of
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like you know, there was one the other day, you know, like tigers and stuff, and you know, bears and stuff, cheetahs,
Yeah.
wolves, all like kind of caught in the moment in nature. It's just cool to look at. Like, I kind of
You
like that being on
recommend
my
that?
feed. Like,
Yeah.
and that'd be pretty much it. There's not much else I'm following at the minute.
Yeah. I always like that question. Like, it's just
It makes you think. Like,
yeah, just who are people following along? Who would I recommend? Like,
then I suppose just a few YouTubers that I'd follow, like that I subscribe to on YouTube. I just follow on Instagram, like, you know, Jack Mate now and
yeah.
Dan Mace. I don't
Dan
probably
Mace.
watch his content as much anymore.
I'm the same. Same.
But I'll still keep
He's
up to
still a
date
good
with his
filmmaker,
Instagram.
though, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Peter McKinnon.
Peter McKinnon.
Kind of like what he puts up and stuff. Like, again.
Yeah.
But yeah, who would you?
Similar to Lewis Capaldi, do you know Mike Posner?
Yeah.
The singer.
Brilliant one, actually.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah, he's had like a complete turnaround in his life. He was, and again, it was on just before Christmas. I would have known of him before and liked his songs.
Yeah.
So he would have had song, do you know, Cooler Than Me back in the day.
Yeah.
That was his original hit, and
That
he's
made him, yeah.
after like completely didn't make him when you hear the story now.
Took a pill in Ibiza as well, wasn't it? Is that
Yeah.
him?
So what happened was he had that hit first, and this is like it was almost like he was like a borderline white rapper, kind of shaved head, all this. Had that hit took off. Followed up with nothing then. So then he actually got shelved by his record label. So he said basically they didn't want to put the marketing dollars into him anymore. So he even made 2 albums after that. They didn't put him out because they didn't think he was marketable anymore. So it's essentially like he was like a deadwood artist, like, you know. So he did know. This is the bit of information I'm missing, but he put out I Took a Pill in Ibiza, but that didn't actually hit straight away either. It was a crowd called Seeb did a remix of it, and the remix of it took
Smashed.
off. Yeah. So do you know the song I Took a Pill in Ibiza.
To Show Avicii
Avicii was cool. I think, do you know, it's almost iconic lyrics, like, and especially now
That
with what's
Avicii's
happening with
passed, like,
Avicii.
yeah.
Yeah. So even saying that, like, the Avicii documentary is a great
You sent it
watch.
on to me.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Very emotional watching. Like, not
yeah.
like, you know, I don't
Actually,
think,
we'll talk about documentaries in a minute. We'll talk about a few of them.
jeez, we're kind of going to an hour here.
Yeah. So, sorry, Mike Posner, and basically now, yeah, he's gone like completely transformed. He's 30 years of age now. He finished with his girlfriend, however that happened. He sold his house and he bought a camper van. And he's like almost full hippie now, so he's a beard like out to here, hair really long, like long nails and all, like he's really going for it. And he released a new album just the 19th of January there, just gone, and it's very good. Now I listened to it in full, alright, some songs are alright, but his dad passed away a year and a half ago, and he'd worked with Avicii a couple of times, and Avicii had passed away, so...
And
a lot of very deep songs. One Move On is phenomenal.
The music video to that is...
music video, and it's just like all phone clips. Like, you know, it's a big thing with him, like, is, you know, obviously you see artists with these big, highly produced music videos. He just put out this one out, Move On, and it's just like, basically just like shot like that, his iPhone up to him.
It's crazy.
And like even moments, he's capturing moments where he's sad, where he's happy. It's kind of about being sad previously, depressed and stuff, and wanting to move on and
take
just want to be happy. Yeah. So he's actually starting to walk across America, and it was meant to be on the 1st of March, but I just seen his Instagram, he stubbed his toe.
His leg.
Yeah. So it's the 21st of March now, and he's going walking across America, and people can join in with him and all this.
Yeah.
He's walking, is it 20 miles a day?
And you have to be able to walk at a quick pace.
Yeah, so he's doing 10 in the morning, hour or two off, 10 in the afternoon kind of thing. So that's interesting. He said it's going to take like a year, like, so just I find him an interesting character, and he's an interesting follow at the moment. And then one other I just want to say is, do you know Yes Theory on YouTube?
Love him.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you follow them all the
Yeah.
time? Yeah.
They're
I would have
fantastic.
followed them like a year ago. I remember seeing some video where they gave, it was maybe a pizza delivery guy, and they gave him like a $500 tip, and I just seen a video on that, and he started crying. He's like, nobody's ever been this nice to me. And I remember seeing that at the time and seeing them then, but then I never really followed them, and it's only the last month or so that I have followed them, and I'm binge watching their content now.
It's
like,
unbelievable. It's
like
so
they'll-
positive. Like
it's complete. It's literally like, I love it. Like, you know, I'd love to be in Yes Theory. I'd love to be.
Set
It's
up a
so
Yes Theory.
positive. Like, so they do things like, they seek discomfort. So when you hear Yes Theory, a lot of people would say, oh, these guys say yes to everything. Whether it's not that, it's that they seek discomfort. So that you grow when you're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so they will do things like, there's 3 minutes. Let's say me and you were Yes Theory. I'd send you to Paris. Set you on a flight, send you to Paris. You're now abandoned in Paris for 24 hours. No food, no money, no phone. You have to rely on the kindness of
Kindness of
strangers
others.
to get yourself by for 24 hours. So get yourself breakfast, lunch, dinner, a coach ticket here, or train ticket there, whatever you need. Like, you might be set in the middle of Paris, you might be out in a country town. So they'll do things like that. I was just watching one last night where they went up to people and said, went up to random people on the street, said, would you quit your job if I gave you $10,000 to follow something you're
Brilliant
passionate
one.
about? Very good, isn't it? And depending on the answers, then they decided who they picked or whatever. And they did it. Like, what else? There was another one. A girl was, if you 24 hours to live, what would you do? And this girl, they went up to her at like a fair or whatever. She was at like a market stall, and she thought they were messing at start, so she just kind of started answering sarcastically, like, and they were like, no, like, so is that what you'd want to do? And she's like, oh my god, you guys are serious, like. And then she started telling them what she wanted to do. She'd want to see wolves, watch the sunrise, jump off a cliff, drive a turquoise Ferrari. And they just made it all happen in the day, like, and took her through the day, and it was just phenomenal. Like, the one thing I will say is, like, do you know, anybody, and we were saying it earlier, story is key. Anybody, if you're watching a video, if you're compiling a video, and if you want it to be engaging, is to evoke emotion in the viewer. And the amount of times I've watched Yes Theory now and had emotion evoked upon me is
you're connected to
every
them straight
time.
away,
Like, I actually find myself like sitting there and smiling watching the video, or sitting there and being like excited,
What's
like,
happening,
coming
like,
next.
yeah.
Like, yeah, so just I love them. I think they're
brilliant.
Like, yeah, real positive.
They're well worth subscribing to on YouTube or
Yes Theory,
following
and
them
then
on Instagram.
yeah. So that's not, they were the two really. Suppose we're coming up on that hour mark there now.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about documentaries. Yeah, if you want to talk about
we'll
it.
talk about them and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, so
I suppose, what have you watched recently?
well, first of all, the one we cut short there, Avicii. I would. That's a gripping watch, like, sad to see, really. That was made like a year before he passed away, and
You can really see in it the struggles he had. Like,
literally, like, I always say to everyone, all that's missing at the end of it was, like, Avicii passed away. It literally covers everything, like, you know. And I'd only seen it when he passed away, but geez, massive warning sign, like, you know.
It is,
like,
yeah.
It looked like it
You
just
can
from the
almost-
documentary, like, so yeah, it was intense.
crazy,
It's
like,
an intense
almost
watch.
shows, like, you know, fame is and everything, like, you know.
No, it does show
it
that,
affects
yeah.
everyone, like,
Yeah.
so it is a sad watch as well. Like, you don't be going into it.
Yeah. And then we've a couple recently that have really gone mainstream.
Netflix
like,
have really upped it, like,
since
Jesus.
the new year, like,
I
yeah.
suppose there's 2 or 3.
Yeah, okay, go on. Do you
Um,
want to say what they are?
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss them then. I
Yeah.
suppose I'll just rattle off the 3 that
Okay.
I've watched. The Fire
Yeah.
Festival one.
Yeah.
Abducted in Plain Sight.
Okay, I haven't seen that, but you can tell me, yeah.
And then the final one I watched was the Ted Bundy tapes, but I stopped halfway through. I got disinterested.
Did you?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why.
Interesting. Okay.
So with the Fire Festival, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, like, but basically,
Well,
suppose-
look, let's talk about it. If anybody is going to watch Fire,
Abducted in
spoiler
Plain
alert.
Sight or the Ted Bundy tapes, just
Spoiler alert here now.
Yeah.
We are going to discuss them.
yeah.
And, okay.
With the Fire Festival, I just thought it was so interesting that they were able to
Gripping.
build this just using influencers alone,
Yeah,
literally
gripping.
just playing on people's mind. Like,
Yeah.
Kylie Jenner's posting about this is going to be unreal.
Yeah.
I'll buy a ticket. Now I know they kind of targeted upper end, higher class people.
Yeah.
Because tickets were thousands, like.
They were, yeah. I think cheapest was 500, maybe up to like $5,000 or whatever. Exactly. Just for normal tickets, yeah. Mind blowing.
Yeah, just to see how it happened, like how they got away with it, like leading up to the event, kind of two weeks to a week out.
Yeah.
And nothing was happening.
Everything going shit, like. Yeah.
Now, like, part of me was watching it as well, seeing all these kind of influencers being stung a bit, and I was like, do you know what, that's what you kind of get now as well for kind of just shoving your life in people's faces on Instagram. But then obviously, like, you look at the people of, was it Barbados? No. It was an island anyway, it was Bahamas, yeah. And just seeing people, like, being almost, like, in the Bahamas, like, the workers building it and stuff, they put a lot of time into that.
Yeah.
And half of them, like, just didn't get paid, like,
all of them, I don't think,
you know, so that's obviously upsetting to see. And then you saw the woman in it, God love her, that had to go into her savings.
Yeah, she got it all back in the end, and the GoFundMe, have you seen that? Over 170k. Fair play, like, and fair play to the people that were really discuss the show, like, doesn't it?
Yeah, the people are compassionate.
People are powerful, like,
if the message is right. So I suppose if anyone hasn't seen it, watch it. The Abducted in Plain Sight one, I can't believe you haven't seen it. And I think I watched this before I watched Ted Bundy, and I think this is why I didn't like Ted Bundy.
Okay.
The Abducted in Plain Sight one is basically about this family who live in a kind of rural town in America. Churchgoers now, like, you know, they just do everything by the book. This family moves into town. The father goes to the church, meets the wife of the family who've lived there originally, and just kind of gets talking to her. Wife comes home anyway, tells her husband, geez, there's a new family in town, and the husband seems lovely. So then he brings over his family, and the two families just kind of get to know each other, and they have kids, and the kids become best friends, and then the husband and wife of each family become best friends. So they just get started with it.
Yeah, it's like one big...
Yeah, like one big happy family, like. Little do they know, like, the guy who's moved there is actually a paedophile, like, and he kind of starts grooming one of the kids.
Yeah.
But he's so good at manipulating the family. He, like, manipulates the mother and father into letting him spend so much time with their daughter.
Yeah.
Eventually, anyway, he abducts her, takes her to Mexico. He tells the wife that he's only kind of bringing her out just for after school, just to this place, and they'll be back. And she said, you have to have her back by 6 o'clock. He's gone to Mexico, like, he ain't coming back, like. But what he did was, like, he would go to the mother and say, like, I love you and you're beautiful, and he just talked her up, made her feel like she's never felt before, like, because her husband obviously wasn't telling her that, and the mother kind of fell in love with this man then, like, but he was only just kind of fobbing her off, like, I want your daughter. Takes her to Mexico anyway, rings the family and says he wants to marry her. The daughter's only like 12 or 13 now, like, he wants to marry her. But
that brings... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
R. Kelly came into my head there as well. It's another one I've watched.
And what he does is, like, he kidnaps the girl, drugs her, so she falls asleep. Then she wakes up in a room in Mexico, but there's just this little telecom box, and he starts feeding voices through it, like a robotic voice. And it's basically telling the girl that she's been abducted by aliens, and that she needs to do a mission to save the world, and she needs to have a child before she's 16 with the chosen one, or with the man. And then she leaves she's shackled to the bed and she passes out. Then she wakes up again, the shackles are off. She leaves the room and she sees the guy who's kidnapped her on the couch passed out. So he's made it look like the aliens have hit him or whatever, and he's passed out. He's the chosen one. So she now realises that she has to have a kid with this man before she's 16, or else something terrible is going to happen to her family. So he's brainwashed her into that. I won't go into the graphics of what he does, like, because it's harrowing, like. And then basically he kidnaps her a second time. Then, like, she goes back to the family, kidnaps her. It's just crazy. Just watch it. What happens with the family is absolutely crazy. He has an affair with the wife. There's a part in it then, right? He has an affair with the wife. And I was watching it with Sarah now, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, he's after abducting the daughter. He's having an affair with the wife. I was like, that's next is the husband to have a go off him, like. He actually talks the father into doing something that's ridiculous. Just watch it. It just really.
That is gripping.
It's just like you watch it and you're just like, what world are we living in? Like, that this could happen. Like, so, like, but you know the way they kind of told the story, they kind of did a reconstruction of it. Like, you know, they kind of had characters play what was happening out. So you kind of got to visualize what was happening. Whereas with the Ted Bundy tapes, I was watching it, and there was photos popping up and police talk, and I was just like, you're giving me nothing here. Like, I want to. Like,
you're saying, like, the way it was produced, really?
Yeah. Like, not that I want to see what happens to these women in the Ted Bundy. Like, that's not. But I just kind of want to, see, like, a reconstruction of how he went about it, and you know the thoughts behind it, but it just wasn't giving it to me, and chopped it after about 2 episodes, 3 episodes.
Yeah. A lot to digest there.
But
first of all, with Fire, Fire, I just thought it was gripping. I thought it was phenomenal how they leveraged social media to create such hype. The orange tile thing was crazy. The fact that Kendall Jenner got 250k just to post an orange tile is just shows you the world we're living in today.
The power of influencers.
The power of influencers, and phenomenal. Billy, the main guy in it, complete sociopath. The fact that after it finished, that when he was up for sentencing and all that, that he continued to try and, like, he used email lists from Fire.
Frank wasn't it?
And a guy, Frank, and pretended to sell him like VIP tickets now to the Masters golf, and just crazy. Obviously, just a complete fraudster. Must have been a good talker, a good salesman to be able to get investors on board. But I just, the only thing is, like, you know, when I was watching it, I was like, this guy, if he's frauding all these people and all this, he must be under savage stress, like. So whether he was or not, I don't know, but just must be a complete sociopath. No remorse, no compassion, like, just frightening. Very good watch, like one of the best. No, grip me. I was hoping it would go on for longer, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very good.
I haven't seen it Abducted in Plain Sight. I might watch it.
It's only an hour and 40
I
or
know
whatever.
most of the story there now, but I still might watch it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just when you mentioned it to me, there was one I forgot I watched, was the R. Kelly one.
Still haven't watched it.
Frightening.
And that's episodes, not...
Yeah, it's like 8 episodes. It's done by a crowd called Lifetime. I watch it on some dodgy link now on the internet, but frightening, disgusting, like, and sad as well at the same time. And again, it's kind of like that, like, it's like, jeez,
how did he get away with it, kind of thing,
like yeah, this kind of stuff happened once anymore, and it really. And then the last one, Ted Bundy Tapes. So I would have known of Ted Bundy, like Ted Bundy before
Ted
that.
Bundy, the middle thing's coming out in him.
Ted Bundy before that, and there's a few others, like, you know, there's serial killers over time, like, and like Jeffrey Dahmer now is another guy, Ed Kempner, there's a few, like, and Ted Bundy is one of them, obviously, and but I didn't know to the detail that the tapes went into, and it blew my mind, like the detail, and it seemed really like he was one of the first serial killers that they never had an actual title for it before. Like, they never even assumed that someone would kill more than one person.
Yeah.
Like, and it even seemed like maybe, you know, 3 or 4 girls went missing and maybe were killed, and they were like, we never even thought that it could be one person who did all those. Like,
they all thought it was someone else doing it.
And the fact that, like, the big thing across the whole thing was that, like, technology was just nowhere near advanced enough. If they want to get information to someone else, they'd have to fax it. Maybe it would take a couple of days for communication to go over and back, and sure, in these couple of days, like, Ted Bundy was gone to the next location, he was moving, he was on the move, he was doing more.
He was able to kind of get from place to place without being caught, like, essentially.
And like he was, there was like 3 or 4 different areas of the country, like, and he escaped from prison twice. I think the second time he got out for like 3 months, went on a spree again, and was even arrested then in Florida. This is towards the end now, and even when they arrested him, they didn't know who he was. Like, he was on, like, the FBI's 10 most wanted, but they arrested him in Florida. This guy wouldn't give over his name. He gave over a fake name, and then after a while, they didn't know who he was for like 2 weeks.
And how did they confirm it?
Somehow communication got down, or maybe he admitted it.
That he would have been
He
in
was
Florida.
like a bit of a shapeshifter as well. He was able to change his appearance quite a lot, and he was a very charismatic guy from the way it seems. Like, even when he was in court near the end, there was women in court who were there, like, you know, in awe of him, like, and who were interested in him, like, and it's like, how, like, he's known to have killed at least 36 women. Now, he himself, when he was talking to third person, said when they catch the guy who did all this, it'll be in the 3 digits. So, like, he was kind of claiming, see, for most of it, he talks in the third person, like, he was kind of claiming 3 digits now, whether it's true or not, like, but they say 36 anyway. And, like, there's still women in the courtroom there who are in awe of him and are and it is the same with R. Kelly as well. Like, it's just interesting that, like, it's like
how
he's known for gruesome killings,
murders,
like, and here you are, and you're like, you almost have a fetish for him, essentially.
Almost in all of them, like.
Yeah. So that was just blew my mind.
And did he ever admit to to these murders?
In the very end, I think he did. Yeah,
Did he?
yeah, before getting executed.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Imagine
But
going
he
that
even-
long without
He had the
admitting it.
guards or the prison guards. Like he even managed to. So he defended himself in court for most of it, and he used one of his last moments where he was only seeking 4 people to actually propose to a woman in the crowd who was basically like his girlfriend at the time, or she was helping all along. She believed he was fully innocent and all this, so he actually married her and had a kid with her while he was in prison. Like, so he impregnated her in prison, and they had a kid, and like the kid was a few years old by the time. Obviously, it took years for him to get executed. So like, raised the kid from prison and stuff, like, you know. So
That is crazy.
but there was actually a new movie coming out as well as Zac
Zac
Efron's
Efron.
playing in it, and there's
Got a lot of
a
criticism.
lot of people. But if you look at it, it's like
They're saying he's romanticizing Ted Bundy, like, isn't it?
oh, is he what? Like the trailer, sorry, no. So like, and it's high action movie, high action music, highly produced, and like Ted Bundy's like a superstar in it and a celebrity, like, and you could see why it would get criticized, like, cause like imagine
You're the families of those
yeah,
watching.
yeah, that it's just overlooked, and even with the Netflix one, it's just kind of like, how ethical is this, making this of something so tragic that's happened? How, you know, ethically right is that?
Yeah.
To make entertainment out of it, but at the same time, people will watch it and all that.
The whole world is going to watch it, like, yeah.
So it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah. I look
I
forward to
thought it was a
coming out.
phenomenal watch. Like, I think the last two. I'm shocked you cut it after 2.
Yeah. No, I think the only reason I did was with the Abducted in Plain Sight one and Fire. It was one sitting. If you get me, like, you know, you're sitting down, you're watching it for an hour and 40 or whatever, and it's done.
That makes a difference. Right?
Whereas with the Ted Bundy one, it was episodes, and I was there finding myself like watching episodes. Do I want to watch the next one?
Yeah.
Do I, like, you know? And I just kind of got sick of it.
Yeah.
I am into more like just sitting down, click and play, watching it through.
Yeah.
But that
You're a
being said,
movie man.
yeah, like that being said, I just started Peaky Blinders in there, but they're hour long, like, you know, if you get me. So I like that, like.
Like, what's Ted Bundy 45?
Yeah, and it's
You
just
want a full hour, like.
yeah,
We're
I
trying to
don't know.
make this podcast a full hour, so.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just not interested in it. But you know what? Now you're kind of selling it to me there a bit, saying like, you know, towards the end, and you might get back into it. We'll see. Like, yeah,
I do find that helps. Like, if someone chats to you about it, because the one you said, Abducted in Plain Sight, you'd actually said that a couple of weeks ago as well. But I was completely not watching that. Like, but you've sold
fobbed
it.
me off, like.
You sold it quite a bit. If not completely telling the whole story. But yeah, I was going to ask you New Year's resolutions, but I think time wise we're up at that sweet spot. We're over the sweet spot we were hoping for, actually. So
I suppose just tell everyone they're not going to be as long as before, like, are they?
Probably not. I suppose we would have had plenty that were maybe half an hour, 40, somewhere over. We're going to try and hopefully keep it to 40 to an hour.
Yeah.
40
he's going an hour.
This one's going to be an hour, like,
yeah.
so.
But I suppose first one back, it needs to be like we need to get a lot off our chest.
Yeah. But we try and keep it sweet, because as you said there, like, you don't have the patience to.
And I think that's a lot of it.
Longer, like
I know now we're trying to wrap up, but quickly, how many times have you flicked through Facebook? You're watching a good video, and next thing it says ad starting in 5 seconds. The ad starts, and then it's 15 seconds long. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting that 15
attention span.
I'm not waiting that 15 seconds to finish that video. I'll watch it on YouTube later, and you know, whatever. Like, but I think if I was listening to a podcast now as well, I'm more so going audio. Driving the car.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I'll get them in there.
Yeah.
So if anyone's listening on audio, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
If you're watching on video, if you've lasted the hour, fair play.
And I suppose, look, can we ask? Yeah, look, actually, before we wrap it up, we have a new. So what do we want to call this?
Kind of like
So I'll just show the camera there. Frankly Nuts Season 2.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's almost like a wall of honor.
Yeah,
wall of honor for our guests.
Exactly.
So we have this, and we just want the guests to sign it every week, who they are, and we'll get a picture with them each time.
Yeah.
Do we want to start it off by just signing ourselves for episode 1?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. We're the stars of episode 1. I suppose.
Sign it there if you want to keep everybody entertained.
So I suppose the whole thinking behind this was just something new, something kind of fascinating to have. If you have bad handwriting, you might be able to sign it. I'm not joking. There was actually a lot of pressure on when we did that intro video. I don't know how many people actually saw it. I was the one that had to write the Frankly Nuts podcast season 2, and the pressure of it It was one board. If I'd messed it up, that was it.
That was it, yeah. We don't have the budget to be buying more than one board. But
if anyone wants to invest in the Frankly on podcast.
So yeah, I suppose if anybody's watching on YouTube, we'd ask that you potentially subscribe to us. If you do subscribe, there's a little bell just next to the subscribe button. If you give that a hit, a click, sorry, a hit. So there we are, all signed up.
Ping.
Oh, all signed up there. Episode 1. So who will be number 2 is the question.
Yeah.
Any guest suggestions, leave them in the comments.
Exactly.
If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell. If you hit the bell, you'll get a notification on your phone when our next podcast is out. I think they're very handy. I use that now for Yes Theory and things like that. And
especially that we don't have a schedule now. Like it's not coming every Sunday. Like.
Exactly. If you are if you are listening on audio, what do you want to do, Kev?
There's not much they can do really.
Subscribe. Leave a review, please.
Yeah,
5-star. Yeah, baby.
Because I think we actually do have decent enough reviews on, is it iTunes? I don't know.
That's if you like it. Like, just leave your honest opinion if you think we're dog rubbish.
That's what I'd love. I'd love people to just
leave a 1-star review. Push just way down the charts.
Just comment, even if it's on YouTube or whatever. Just drop a comment below and say what you liked, say what we could improve on and all that. Constructive criticism is always good.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit here and bore people and people not listening. Just let us know. Like.
So the more reviews you can leave, the better. Because when we did finish up, we were Cork's #1 podcast, and
we still are. Still are. We're the originals
in our minds, but we want to climb the charts and get back to the summit where we were. Yeah. And
we're sitting pretty,
Cork's
baby.
#1.
Don't be thinking we're down.
Cork's #1 podcast again. So much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you for sitting, watching,
listening.
Listen.
And
Love it.
There's big things to come, I suppose.
Kev, good to be back. Really enjoyed it, actually.
I actually settled into it as it went on.
Yeah, do you know what? I found the first 20 minutes were shaky.
Yeah.
But really enjoyed it.
I hope it didn't come across shaky.
Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Hope you all enjoyed it too, and I suppose we'll catch you soon.
Good to be back. Nice one.
We don't know how long it'll be, but keep
a couple of weeks, I'd say. Not that long.
Keep an eye out.
Leave us know in the comments who you'd like guest wise, or stories, even if they're not. Do you know, if we never heard of them, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Message us. You can message us on Frankly Nuts at Instagram. Follow us, please, at Frankly Nuts on Instagram.
He's gagging for followers. Like there he is, slating people looking for him. He's gagging for him.
Oh, they're just boys, some like others. Anyway, look, we leave it on that note.
Perfect, bud.
All right, bud.
Take it easy.
See you next time. Cheers.